Getting used to new hearing aids is often a challenging process for many people. Firstly, there's the issue of physical comfort. It feels strange initially to have something in your ear, and although not painful, you'll be very aware of the physical feel of the hearing aids. Like wearing new shoes though, we soon stop noticing the difference in that physical feeling. If the hearing aids do feel uncomfortable after a time, visit the audiology department where the earpieces can be modified. Having something in your ear can also change how your own voice sounds to you. Imagine speaking when putting your fingers in both ears. Your voice can sound hollow, loud and echoey. Over time, with more use of the hearing aid, your brain will adapt so that your own voice is not noticeably different to you anymore and will appear normal again. Some people worry initially that they are speaking loudly when first wearing hearing aids. If anything, it's likely you'll be speaking more quietly as you'll be hearing your own voice better and therefore be less likely to raise your voice. One thing that most people who are new to hearing aids notice is how intrusive some sounds seem initially. These are often quiet sounds such as the fridge humming or the clock ticking, or sharper sounds such as paper rustling or cutlery being moved. With normal hearing, we actually filter out lots of sounds that we hear, so that although if we listen for them, we can hear them, most of the time we're not aware of them. This is because the brain decides what information is important for us to attend and what can be ignored. We're all quick to respond to our own name, even when it's said quietly or at a distance. Our brain is programmed to listen for it. In the opposite sense, everyday fairly quiet sounds can easily be filtered out if they're familiar and deemed as non-important. If somebody works in a room with a noisy fan, after a time they stop hearing the fan. Some people live near railway lines and claim to barely notice the sound of the trains. This is because the sound has been heard, the brain has noticed it, decided it's unimportant and filtered it out. The brain can only filter out familiar sounds though, and it is typical that anyone with hearing loss will have missed hearing the fainter sounds around them for some time. Because hearing loss generally happens gradually, we don't notice that these sounds are missing. We only become aware of them again when using hearing aids. Then, because the sounds are deemed as unfamiliar again, they must be attended to until the brain begins to filter them out. In other words, the only way to stop noticing the quiet sounds so much is to wear the hearing aids more until those sounds become familiar and the brain starts to filter them out again. The reason that sharp sounds can stand out so much is because in most cases of age-related hearing loss, the higher pitch tones are lost first. These can become quite significantly reduced before a hearing loss is even noticed, because loss of these tones only results in a lack of clarity rather than overall volume. Because the sharper sounds are likely to have been missing longer, the brain will attend to these sounds much more as they're less familiar. Again, through use of the hearing aids, the brain is able to adapt, and over time, everything will sound less sharp. Another possible problem facing new hearing aid users is the fact that the brain may have made changes in response to the lower level of sound it has experienced due to the hearing loss. Because the brain essentially notices that it's receiving less sound input, it is thought that it makes an adjustment to compensate. Liken this to an internal volume control. When the brain receives less sound input, it turns things up to try to accommodate this. The brain is slow to adapt to auditory changes, so when hearing aids are worn, this central volume control doesn't immediately turn back down. It takes time to adapt. However, with continued use of the hearing aids, it will happen, and things will appear to settle down. It's common for people to return to audiology after a few months after having hearing aids because they think the hearing aids have become quieter. This is rarely the case, and the brain has simply adapted to the new sound input. With use, you will start to benefit more and more from hearing aids. As the brain becomes familiar with the new sounds again, it starts to make better use of them. You'll get better at focusing on sounds you want to hear and ignoring those you don't. Although this is sometimes limited by the damage to the auditory system, it will improve in time. Everyone gets different results from hearing aids in the long term, and this is based on usage time as well as the level of hearing loss and the ability of the brain to successfully process and sort the sounds. Most people find they get better benefit the more they use their hearing aids, although if there is significant damage to the auditory system or central processing ability, there will be limitations, such as not hearing well when there's more background noise. The general advice is to wear hearing aids as much as possible in order to get the maximum benefit. This can be difficult initially, and it may be easier if wear time is built up gradually. It makes sense to keep the hearing aids in if they're comfortable and not bothersome, but otherwise just increase your usage each day until you're comfortable with using them all day.